Give yourself the space to learn and understand who you are, what you stand for, and what inspires and motivates you. Don't chase a job title, chase personal growth. The job titles will ultimately come. And be ambitious and curious and push yourself.
Brilliant.
Hi, I'm Sarah Walker. I'm the Chief Executive for Cisco UK and Ireland. Globally, we employ over 80,000 people, and this is my Duvet flip.
Having that experience on your CV, did it help you?
When we talk about transferable skills, you don't realise the skills that you amass through all these strange jobs that might not be the dream job, but they're ways of getting you out there and learning things as you go. I know how to talk to customers, I know how to listen to them. So I started in desk sales, trying to sell mobile phones to small and medium businesses, and it was the hardest job I've ever done because nobody believed that mobile technology would take off.
What's the future of technology now, in your opinion?
AI is front and centre, but it's probably a more considered risk and threat as well. So, ensuring that we've got the ethics correct, that we've got the security and the guardrails around the use of AI.
Why do you think everyone's backing AI?
That is a very big question.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
Yeah. So,
che vuoi gira largo da me, non sai che oramai è finita con te, tu sei quella che mi fa passare soltanto chi sei.
So thank you for joining me today.
My absolute pleasure.
You know what? There's nothing that beats a peppermint tea, and I've got ginger and lemon.
Oh, that's my second favourite.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was so much a big tea drinker, and I was drinking about 4 cups of tea a day, and I was just shaking with all the caffeine, and I'm on a diet at the moment, so I'm just like, you know what? Just so clarity and clear.
Yeah, lemon and ginger, all right.
So is that, how do you normally start your day? What is, when you're in the week, you're waking up and you've got a busy schedule, how do you set up your day? What do you do?
So remember, I'm a mom before I'm a businesswoman, so my day starts with the school rush and getting the dog sorted, the children ready for school, and that's the priority, to kind of set the day and make sure that they're okay and they're on their way. I'm a coffee girl. So then it's a strong coffee and, decompress from the morning of getting the family out and set for the day and start to think about what I have ahead. But caffeine is my start to the day.
And is there any skills that you've learned as a mum that's made you a better leader?
Being a mum changed my outlook on leadership massively, because you learn a lot from your children as well. My children have probably taught me as much, if not more, than I've been able to teach them over the years. But that need to really think about what somebody needs from you and how you support that, and how you nurture that, how you help bring out the best in them. Those instincts transcend into leadership. They manifest in a slightly different way. Obviously, I don't mother my team, but those sorts of instincts are really, really important in leadership. And becoming a mum changed a lot of my outlook on my sort of career and how I turned up as an individual.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about before you become a mum and your first job.
Yes.
Let's start there, because this is a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Tell me what you was doing in your first job.
Yeah.
What was the role? What did you learn? Why did you even do it? Because it's so easy to say, you know what, I'm going to wait for my perfect job. I'm not going to get a career when I'm 18 or 17 or even younger, and I'm just going to wait until that perfect job comes along. But I don't believe there's a such thing as a perfect job. Probably
the most unusual one I bet you've had so far. So I was 11 years old when I first started working, and there was a local sports centre that we spent a lot of time at, and they had what I don't think is actually a thing anymore, but this 9-pin Skittles league, wooden Skittles league. None of the electronics like we have with 10-pin bowling now. It was children in a shack behind the Skittles, and as they were knocked over, we'd run out, we'd lift them back up, we'd go back in, and we'd support the whole game. And I did that 2 nights a week. I did that on a Thursday and a Friday night for an hour and a half, and I earned £20 a week at the age of 11. And from a learning perspective, I think you can imagine that's an incredibly mundane job. You're looking through a hole, watching people bowl for an hour and a half. And I learned the kind of how do I create a bit of gamification in everything that I do? How do I create the little, sort of patterns and rituals of I'm going to stack them in this order, I'm going to try and do it quicker, I'm going to count to 10 and see how quickly I get through. So lots of different ways to make the time pass, try and make something enjoyable when it's really not. Realised how competitive I am even in that odd work environment. I always wanted to finish the quickest, make sure that the teams I looked after had the best game, had the quickest game. I got Stacker of the Year. That was my first employee kind of reward. So yeah, you learn a lot about yourself in those strange environments.
Why do you think you're competitive? What is it? Where's that come from? And how do you balance being competitive but also bringing people on the road with you?
I've always been competitive, it's ingrained in me. We're a big sporting family, always been really into my sports, and there was if you're going to do anything, be the best that you possibly can, and compete with yourself as much as with other people. So, competition should come from within. It's not just looking at the person next to you and saying, can I do something better than them? Actually compete with yourself to make sure that you might already be the better athlete in the room, but are you competing with yourself to be the best that you can be, and not the benchmark versus other people? So I think that's really, really important. But you can be a team player as well as being competitive, and you can, use that to kind of manifest how do you encourage other people to bring the best out in them, to bring more to the table, to raise their own bar if they don't have that natural instinct to think, what can I do more? What can I do more? How do I, really turn up as my best? So kind of using that competitive instinct to create a bit of an environment of healthy competition. It's about recognising that we're all striving. We would all like to be the best person in the room, but we want to take the room with us.
When you're an individual going at it solo, it's a lot different when actually your success is based on what you make happen and what your team does.
Yeah.
Did that change your narrative, or have you always been a team player? Because sometimes it's easy just to be blinkered, especially when you're in commercial sales roles and you go, well, I've got a target. Yes, this person's got a target, and yes, I like them, but at the end of the day, numbers talk.
Yeah. So I think there's ways for you to still be that driven individual contributor, but recognise the value that you can bring to the wider team that doesn't lessen who you are, what you're going to achieve and how you can stand out. But again, about bringing that team with you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was sort of elevated to a leadership role quite early in my career, because everything that I did, I'd kind of master it myself. I'd work out how that worked for me, and then I'd work out actually what do I take to my manager to say, this is actually what I think is making me do well. Is this something that we could do at a team level? Is this something that if you did, it will help you in how you lead other people? So you're still differentiating yourself in that way, but not being guarded around, I'm going to protect all the IP that makes me good and leave all them to it. You're still nurturing the things that make you good, but you're doing it in a way that is more visible and accessible and better for the wider company. So I used to play first violin in the Coventry Youth Orchestra, and carried on up to grade 7 at violin, and very sadly dropped that when I got into my adult years. Wish I'd kept that on.
So I want to talk a little bit about your job. So you worked in a butcher's.
I did.
Tell me about that. And it's a really important job, and for all butchers out there, I think they do a fantastic job.
It's a skill.
It's a skill.
Yeah.
But not one that I would be able to do. How was you able to do that?
My auntie worked there actually. She said there's a Saturday job going. Again, it was just how do you find how am I going to make this enjoyable? How am I going to make sure it's fun? I got to meet, all of the local community. That was when, the community culture was still, all of the pensioners would come in on a Saturday to buy their one piece of chicken and a little bit of mince, and it was just a really cute way of actually connecting with community in a way that, as a 13, 14-year-old, I wouldn't ordinarily do. I am actually a bit of an introvert, and connecting in those sorts of ways is more natural for me, because I'm dreadful at walking into a room and trying to work out how to...
So you're an introvert, but you were just singing and dancing off camera.
Well, you've made me feel really comfortable, Jack. Yeah, so it was just a really nice way. I found ways to connect, and again, I talked about the sort of the gamification that I did in Skittles. It was then right, if somebody asks for a pound of mince, can I get that in one scoop? It's just really stupid things. I created all these little rhythms and rituals, and I've realised I do that even to this day. I create rhythms and rituals around the things that I do that create a bit of joy in the mundane, find ways of making things interesting. And, you know, butchery is a skill, you know, seeing what butchers could actually do. It's appreciating the value in things that you wouldn't necessarily be drawn to or gravitate towards as well. So it's, you know, gave me an appreciation for, you know, that there will always be skills and industries and jobs that I may not gravitate towards, but that's, you know, there are incredible people doing incredible things, and thank goodness for them, because if we all wanted to do the same thing, we'd be in a bad state as a society.
Well, we're all trying to be managing director at Cisco. That's my next role.
Go for it.
When you become CEO, right?
Yeah.
And did that, having that experience on your CV, did it help you?
It has. So after I worked in the butchers for 2 years, then I went into retail, high street retail, and then I went into hospitality. So they were all customer-facing roles, all customer-serving roles. Great way to learn about people, to learn about discipline, learn about money. So again, you know, I had to work out what people's invoices were live, quick maths, you know, working at. So there's all of those little skills, and I think that's a really important thing for young people to realise when we talk about transferable skills. You don't realise the skills that you amass through all these, you know, various strange jobs that might not be the dream job, but they're ways of getting you out there and learning things as you go. So how to deal with customers, how to add up bills really quickly, how to manage money, how to manage interactions. That was, you know, the core of my sort of really formative Saturday job, part-time job years. So then when I started in BT, you've kind of got that foundation then to say, I've dealt with customers. It might not be talking to them about telecoms, but I know how to talk to people. I know how to talk to customers. I know how to listen to them, how to serve them well, how to make them happy. That's a really good foundation. You know, the rest you can learn. There's always going to be stuff that you need to learn on the job.
I'm a big believer in self-awareness.
Yes.
You talked a moment ago about little skills,
yeah.
And one of my little skills is self-awareness. And
that's a huge skill.
But you don't see it as a huge skill. You do it when you do it every day. You're like, okay, how to greet someone, when to stand, when to step away from them, how to greet, let people speak. All that stuff is. The funny thing is, growing up, I had speech therapy into the age of 8, and I didn't speak. But now I'm kind of awarded and complimented on my communication. And people go, what, you couldn't speak? Yeah, I couldn't say more than a couple words because my mum used to slur her words and be drunk all the time. So some of the stuff that where it doesn't start strong become your kind of your strength. Yeah. But what is self-awareness? What road do you take? There's a lot of people that feel lost at the moment. They're the brightest people, they're really good, but when it comes down to actually making it, I'm using the cup of tea as the analogy of your career or the direction you go, they don't know how to turn the kettle on.
Yeah.
There's a blocker.
So I think there's a few things in that, Jack, and I think the things that young people have to navigate today and the things that they're constantly bombarded with through social media create all of these kind of false realities that they're trying to work out how, where do they sit within that? How do they create their own reality against a backdrop of all these false realities that are constantly being pushed to them through various different platforms? And that in itself becomes really challenging to then go, well, what do I stand for? What am I about? I want to be like that person. How do I get to be like that person? When they should be focused on, who am I? What am I about? What makes me happy? What's my actual real reality? So I think that is a real challenge. Self-awareness is just at the core, what do you stand for? What makes you happy? Who are you as a person? How do you want to behave? How do you want to turn up? And it's difficult to explain because it's a feeling and an intuition more than it is a process. But it's kind of giving yourself that space and that kindness to say, this is who I am. I'm owning it. I'm happy with it. I'm comfortable with it. And then these are the things that I need to do through work, through my personal relationships, through my own development that continue to build out from who I am in a natural and authentic and an organic way, and not go, I'm here today, I want to be that person on TikTok over there, and there's, you can't resonate between the two, so the journey feels really difficult. I don't know if I've explained that really very well.
We've got a third reality now. It's called virtual reality that's come into place, and it just takes it's all these different realities. And I hear you loud and clear. Be real in your reality, and what that individual has over here, you can be motivated and inspired by, but realise that you've got your own focus, and all the success and all the happiness will come if you focus on you.
100%. Yeah. Be comfortable in who you are, focus on you, and growth will come in. As you say, if you were non-verbal until the age of 8, look at where you are now. That hasn't changed who you are as a person.
Just be Essex now.
But you've worked out how to grow and develop on those things. It hasn't, detached you at the core from who you were. They're all of the things that organically grow and develop and make you more rounded as an individual, as you get older.
Now I speak 8 languages. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I can flip to Mandarin.
No, absolutely. No, not today. We've got AI to do that now, haven't we? We can turn this into any language. It's great.
Cisco globally has reached 848 million people through our social impact grants.
What was your approach to people who may be saying, actually, I want to work on this project. I've just started a job. I'm 6 months in and I really want to work on this project. Or, you know what? I think it's time that I want a pay rise. I want to work from home 1 day a week, or whatever that is. What is your advice to people on having the best process to kind of execute it in a meaningful way?
Yeah. So I think if I start with the one on, I want to work on this project, or I want to go on this direction, the power of good conversations at that point to actually understand people's motives. Let's unpack that a little bit more and think about whether that's the right route for you to work on, whether a pay rise is really the answer you're looking for, or actually is this just about you want to be recognised more, you think you're not recognised for the things. So how do we create that transparency and awareness of what you're doing so that you feel recognised and you feel supported and things like that. So very often it's the ask and the outcome may not align to the route of what's leading somebody to make that ask.
To find the route.
Yeah.
And how would you present that? Would it be in an email? Would it be asking for a catch-up? How would you best approach that?
Depends again on individuals. Some people like formal communications. They like to get everything down in writing and say, I'm going to set my stall out. Here's the baseline of the things I want to talk. Some people like just an informal chat to say, this is where I think I'm at. Can we chat through? So understanding people's preferred communications, and also making sure that dependent on the nature of the conversation, you're steering it to the right platform. Email can be interpreted in different ways. It can be a bit of a blunt instrument from a comms perspective sometimes. One-to-one conversations, are more difficult to misinterpret. So
I agree.
Just thinking about that, is it the appropriate style of communication based on the conversations that you're having, and are you going to get to the crux of what you need with that individual based on the way that you're communicating?
You want to see some of the emails I receive? You'd need a week off like I do.
I saw your LinkedIn post about,
Did you?
Yeah.
It's
true.
It's true, and I believe communication is so important over email.
Yeah.
And you meet some fantastic people, and they're so inspiring and well presented, good intentions on the face surface of things, and then that conversation just kind of changes. And in that moment, you have 2 options. You can react or you can respond. And it's really making sure that you respond, and sometimes not responding is a response.
Absolutely.
I think that's really important, and that's the message I've got to young people, that we get about 15,000 people put in their CV a month.
Wow.
And some are really good and some are one-liners. Do you have a job?
Goodness me.
And that's the interview starts as soon as they apply.
It's a lifelong interview.
It is.
Every interaction, and I say this to my children now, every time you turn up and speak to somebody, you're making an impression, you're showing them who you are and what you're about. You can never afford to be that, lax, lazy around how you think about how you communicate. But I think you know, I would hate to be a young person. I look at the things that my children have to navigate now versus the things that I had to navigate at the same age. And there is a bit of a lost art of communication.
Leon, my executive producer, and I, we came down and met you. You're coming into my home. Yes. You want to be saying, look, here's who you're meeting. Literally getting in the lift, turning up, knocking. It's daunting. Yeah. So I think it's those little things that can actually make communication so much better. And I think it's those little things that actually make everyone more at ease.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
A lot of fantastic leaders that we've had on, very successful in their careers, women in tech, they've had some type of interesting roller coaster with some individuals. Tell me if you've had any. What have you?
I've had a lot. So if you think, I started my career in tech in 1997. So 27 years in this industry now. So over that first 10 years, you know, I was lucky that I did have a couple of individuals who really did back me and gave me the sort of the confidence at points I would have otherwise gone, this is actually really, really hard. Very often the only female in the room. There was an external customer meeting that I turned up to as the most senior representative of the company at the time. And I was welcomed as, are you the PA?
Wow.
Yeah.
You turn up every day, you work your socks off, you get the credibility that you deserve through hard work. You turn up to an external meeting and they ask you if you're the PA. Tell me how you respond without someone getting an headbutt. If that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. That's why I'm smiling. So that is in that moment the react or respond. And I made some really, really conscious decisions very early on, as those instances were more frequent than you would think, to go, you know, I'll let my work, the things I do, the things I'm capable of, speak for me. Because if I get drawn into those conversations with any degree of regularity, it will be really draining for me, it will be really difficult for me. And actually I won't accomplish the things that I know I'm capable of accomplishing.
When it comes to diversity, inclusion, or anyone being unkind, I'm a big believer you can be direct without being rude.
100%.
And you can be direct. And I know that kindness gets this all up in the fairy snowflakes. Kindness is also showing tough love. Mm-hmm. Did that individual, do you believe that they learned from that lesson, and did they get their sanction? Because every setback is a sanction. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think in the way that so that's an individual that I had to work with as a customer for quite a long time after that, and their attitude to me and their support of me changed considerably. So would they have overtly said, apologised for what they did, or no? But did they process that internally and think about how they turned up and behaved as a result of it? Yes, I think they would have. And I think that's they're smaller, quieter wins, but I think that's how slowly within the industry things have changed and turned around because of the resilience. I mean, I work with some incredible females over the last 27 years, and it's that resilience to not allow those moments to rock you or to make you think, oh God, maybe I shouldn't be in the room, and to just have that resilience to keep turning up and making it about the individuals who have had those opinions and those approaches, make it their issue and not ours.
And what is your message, not to women, but to ambassadors, to support the men in the organisations now that are in the leadership positions? What is your message to us? What can we do?
So I'm glad you said it's not a message to women, because I think this is a message about equity, diversity and inclusion, full stop. Because if you have a really sound mindset around that, we don't need to be talking about how we support women in tech, how we support minorities in industry, how we support different age demographics. This is just about a mindset that says, empower everybody.
Absolutely.
Right? So there is nothing about your demographics or your characteristics that defines, determines or inhibits who you are, and what you're capable of.
It's attitude and mindset, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So my call out to leaders, and when I talk about kind of EDI and social impact, is just make sure that we're leveling the playing field for everybody, that there's nobody that walks in the room and thinks, I look a bit different to the other people in the room, what does that mean for me? It's, I look a bit different to people in the room, amazing, I've already got a unique starting point.
How does one level the playing field practically, daily? Because I think it all starts with a moment, right?
Yeah.
That one meeting then turns into two. Then the people that you manage and look up to you start behaving in the way that you need them to be. What's that one thing to level that playing field?
So, politicians' answer, I don't think it's one thing, it's two things. So it's people, but it's also policy. The two things need to go hand in hand. So when you look at corporate organisations and industries, there has to be shifts in policies that consciously move people away from some of the biases that might exist within the industry, and that needs to be, you know, with corporate governance and at corporate level, and that needs to happen in parallel. But then there's personal leadership and behaviours, and we talk a lot about allyship within Cisco, which is super important, and that is, you know, I am an ally to our BAME community. So what does that mean? I can't possibly put myself in the shoes of my BAME colleagues and understand their daily lived experiences, but as an ally, I very consciously support, advocate for, and if I see things happening that, you know, are not in support of my BAME colleagues, then I will actively speak out about that. There's a difference between, as an example, not being racist and being anti-racist. Do you understand the difference, and do you stand up and be counted in those instances?
And what are the difference between the two?
To not be racist is mean that I would never commit an act of racism towards an individual, so that's I would never behave in that way. To be anti-racist is if I saw you, Jack, doing something that, you know, was racially motivated towards an individual, would I speak out on that individual's behalf and stop that and be conscious enough to say, Jack, I don't accept that.
Well, I expect you to smack me around the face.
That
nicely.
could also be.
Now we're friends.
Yes, I know you well enough now to.
But yeah, I totally agree, and that's how you make effective mindset shifts, right?
Yeah, you can't, particularly that, you know, as a senior leader, your behaviours have to demonstrate that. You have to live that every day. Be a good person, a kind person, an empathetic person. Doesn't mean you can't be a strong leader and a strong business person in parallel. So there's been more data created in the last 5 years than in the history of the internet.
25 years?
Yeah.
At BT, before you joined Cisco?
Yes, yeah.
Did you ever get bored?
No.
Because commitment is a word that a lot of people shy away from. For a long time, I've run away for the last 2 years from the commitment to walk-in gym and health, and now I'm committed because I'm putting things in place. I'm not a gym expert, absolutely not, but I'm trying to do my piece. But 25 years is commitment.
It is commitment. It is. But as I say, I never got bored. I enjoyed every moment because one organisation, so many different types of roles that you can do. Mine was always sales oriented, but there's, you know, a huge amount of corporate functions, HR, finance, all those sorts of things as well. So you can, in an organisation of that scale, you could have, you know, I probably did 6 or 7 roles that you'd ordinarily need to go to 6 or 7 different companies to do. So although it was, you know, a BT career, it transcended a number of different things. So I started on desk sales, kind of telesales, cold calling, trying to sell mobile phones to small and medium businesses. And it was the hardest job I've ever done because nobody believed that mobile technology would take off. So that's 97, and I'm having to convince people that they need a mobile and it will be the future of technology. Roll forward to where we are now, technology and innovation has advanced at, you know, an extortionate rate and continues to.
Taking the mobile analogy and calling small businesses to sell a mobile, what's the future of technology now in your opinion?
That is a very big question. So, I mean, there's always a buzzword, there's always an emerging trend, and AI is front and centre of that at the moment. And it is one of the things that, again, will sort of transform our use and our consideration of how technology can and should be used. And that's both an opportunity, as many of the innovations we've seen over the last 30 years are, but it's probably a more considered risk and threat as well. So, you know, ensuring that we've got the ethics of the use of AI correct, that we've got the security and the guardrails around the use of AI is really, really important.
Why do you think everyone's backing AI from a corporate point of view? And why should individuals, especially young people, spend some time opening up chat GPT and stuff and actually learning it?
Yeah. So let me separate out the two, because the young people, I've got sort of an interesting view on kind of curiosity and self-learning that I'll come on to. But from a corporate kind of organisational point of view, so when we talk about AI powered, it can be anything as simple as like within our WebEx platform, when you're in a meeting, it can annotate the meeting. You can get all your meeting notes. So it's how, you know, you've got a transcript of everything. That is basic AI, right? Yeah. So AI powered can mean some pretty basic functionality that is generative text script content based on a platform, and that's it at its core. It becomes a lot more complex than that in other use cases, but when somebody says it's AI powered, that's as simple as it could potentially be. And there's great efficiencies to be gained from that. So I think when organisations are looking at that now, everything around a technology strategy is based on essentially operational efficiency and competitive gain. So anything that delivers that, and AI, is a huge enabler. When you look at, younger people and skills, so one of the things that we do in Cisco is our Net Academy, which is a platform that is accessible and open to all, and it looks at all of the digital skills that people might need or do need probably to equip them for today's society.
And is that free?
It is, absolutely. So that's cyber skills, it would be AI, various digital things, and we've reached in the UK almost half a million people already.
I'm saying 500 million in the UK.
500,000. I always get the global numbers. Yeah. 500,000 people in the UK.
That's really cool.
And we've made a pledge at an EMEA level to reach 10 million by 2032. That's phenomenal. That's what I would encourage young people to do, is that, be curious, look for the different ways to learn. There's lots of different platforms available where you can do, quick cyber skills. You can look at skills in AI, understanding what AI means. How does it help you in a job search? How does it help you get into further education if you haven't got traditional, exam qualifications, which many young people don't? How do you use those as platforms to get you into different environments? So be curious about those emerging technologies. That's one of the things that, to be 25, 27 years in an industry, I have to do that. I have to keep learning, and I have to keep refreshing my own skills and my knowledge, because the things that made me good in 1997 won't do me any good today. So
always upskilling.
Always, lifelong learner.
One soundbite lesson lifelong learning that you learnt at BT, what would you say that is?
That industry, society will continue to change, embrace it, and always be ready to find the opportunity in it.
So don't try and stop it from changing. You will never be able to make it stop.
I've seen some brilliant people who've been so adverse to change that they've probably derailed their own potential because they liked what they were doing, they liked how things were working, and things have bypassed them. So, and I say that's not just an industry thing, that wasn't just a BT thing. Society continues to change.
It's everywhere, isn't it?
Always be ready to find the opportunity in it. Always be ready.
And a life lesson since your 2 years at Cisco?
So the life lesson in that would be, having gone from 25 years in an organisation that I knew top to bottom, inside out, then the nerves kick in and go, I'm going in at a senior level. Why would people listen to me? Why would people want to be led by me when I'm coming in as the newbie and I don't understand their organisation? Well, I did, but not to the same extent. And it was a real eye-opener for me in terms of the things that I have learned, the things that are inherent on who I am, how I lead, how I run businesses, that absolutely mean you can make that leap credibly, effectively, and just have that confidence to back yourself and know that you can do a good job and you can make a difference. Because that was a real challenge for me. I thought, have I been successful because it's been in a single organisation for such a long time? And I'm really glad that I made the leap, because I might not have challenged myself
to do
as
that
much as I could or should have had I not made that leap. So, yeah.
And all the stuff that you learn at BT is transferable over anyway. How to meet people, how to greet people, or how to manage all of that. Do you know what I mean? What's your one bit of a career advice to anyone that wants to become a managing director?
So you'd be surprised how many people I meet as a mentee, and that's I want to be an MD. So this is a conversation I have a long time. The first thing I would say is be really clear why you want to be an MD. What is it about being an MD that makes that an aspiration for you? If it's the job title, back to our earlier discussion of motives and motivation, you're coming at it from the wrong perspective. So I would say take the time to understand in the field that you're wanting to operate in, what does being an MD actually mean? What does it actually mean? Put the job title to one side. So it's somebody that has, you know, a profound responsibility for the people that they support and lead within their team. And that's important. And it's really important to take that seriously and be comfortable that you will take that obligation seriously, because you've got a lot of people depending on you. You've got a responsibility to the business, to lead the business well, to deliver strong financial performance, to build strong strategies, to operationally run a good business. And then dependent on the industry, you've got an obligation to your customers to do the right thing, to understand their organisations and how to structure your business in a way that drives relevance and importance and growth for them as well. It isn't about being the boss and telling people what to do, which is what a lot of people think it is.
It is. Are we talking about the same thing? Because what do you mean by MD? Because I was talking about mega dancer.
I'm also a mega dancer, but there's a whole different
I totally agree. And it's looking at where you are now and realising that that fancy title or that title doesn't just mean that you are the boss. Actually, you've got a lot more responsibility, and there's so much that you won't know that goes on in that person's role. They might see you on a podcast, go, that's what she does all day.
Yeah, we swan around and do interviews and do.
But they don't realise the P&L and and there's client stuff and there's internal stuff and there's all that different stuff that you still have to manage.
Yeah.
Within a system that has its own systems, which is a whole new thing and job in itself.
Absolutely. Sometimes, a lot of the accountability and responsibility, but not always the autonomy. So working within, kind of a matrix environment, particularly an organisation the size of Cisco, we're 80,000 employees. My part of the business is a component of that, but I have to make my part of the business work alongside many other. Absolutely, yeah.
And what's your message to people out there right now?
Going back to that, find yourself first before you're trying to find where you want to get to or what the job is. Take that time, be kind to yourself, give yourself the space to learn and understand who you are, what you stand for, and what inspires and motivates you in an authentic way, not what you see on a TikTok or an Instagram that you think that looks glamorous. Just take the time and space to really understand who you are, because that foundation will help you be more resilient, be more informed in the decisions that you make. Don't chase a job title, chase personal growth. The job titles will ultimately come. And be ambitious and curious and push yourself. If at any point you feel comfortable, you need to move on. By move on, I mean, and this is the other interesting, career progression isn't, linear. It's not, I've got this job, then I do my bosses and I keep moving up. So when I say move on, it could be a horizontal move within an organisation where there's a different role that would stretch you a little bit more, that gives you a different dimension than what you do today.
Sometimes take a step back to step forward.
Yeah, well, it's not even a step back. I think, if I look in Cisco, even at the MD level, there are so many different jobs at an MD level that I could probably do 5 or 6 other roles at the same grade, at the same level as an MD within the organisation, learn a lot more, grow a lot more, stretch myself. But I haven't progressed up the line in terms of the hierarchy, but I've progressed as an individual. And I think we sometimes lose sight of that, progression can be horizontal as much as it can be, vertical.
That's great advice.
But anchor it in you, not job title or the glamorous thing that you aspire that somebody else is.
And my final question, are you ready?
Yes.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
So I've smiled so much when I've heard you ask that question, because I'm still actually fundamentally not a morning person. So I don't think I flip the duvet, I kind of casually roll it. But I think there's, the fact that you can do that in the morning is a blessing in itself, right? So again, just anchor yourself on some, you know, real basic principle. Just being able to get up in the morning is a privilege that, you know, I've lost people far younger than they should have done. So don't take that for granted, the fact that you've got that opportunity. And I get to choose on a daily basis how I invest my time, where I invest my time, meet amazing people, do amazing things like this.
Thank you.
My team get to make a difference to some of the biggest organisations in the UK and globally. Just, you know, I just embrace the opportunities that every day gives me, but it's less of a flip and more of a
roll.
Yeah.
So what's your duvet flip roll in the morning? There you go. And I just want to say thank you for sharing your wisdom, your kindness, your experience, and just being amazing, because obviously on camera and off camera, I think that's what I watch most, and you've just been brilliant.
Thank you.
People are actually going to think that you stood there and danced, which I love.
I'm cool with that. Thank you so much.
Che vuoi gira largo da me, non sai che oramai è finita con te. Tu sei quella che mi fa passare soltanto